Oh, you didn't know? Welcome back to another episode of the LTS Wrestling Podcast. It's me. It's that NICC, and it's the last episode of the year. It's just me and Jojo here today. What's going on, bro?
What's up, brother?
What's up, man?
How you doing?
We're good.
Hey, no, man. It's like we're closing out the year the way we started it, right? Just us two here.
Just us two.
But nonetheless, thank you again for joining us. And it's been a minute for all of us here. You know, we've all been celebrating the holidays, so we're hoping that everyone out there has had a happy holiday. And obviously going to 2026, we're about to close out this year, 2025, with a little bit of the reviews of, you know, what's been happening across the industry. Obviously, we've got lots to talk about. Things have been happening in the past few weeks where we haven't had a chance to get together and really talk about this. But nonetheless, let's get it going. And thank you again for joining us on this last episode for 2025. Continue to thank you, subscribers, all our followers all over our social media platforms. And we really appreciate you guys. And let's talk about this past month, right? So December was pretty much a big month for primarily, I would say one thing in particular. There was the end of Cena's retirement tour, and Saturday Night Main Event was probably 2 weekends ago, and we obviously saw the results of that. The final matchup between John Cena and Gunther, with Gunther tapping John Cena out, and clearly a lot of mixed reviews. A lot of people in the IWC, I would say probably the vast majority, have been very vocal, very unhappy with the end, and
Very vocal.
But at the same time, I think a few of us were in the minority of thinking, I thought it was great. I thought it was awesome. But let's talk about it, right? You know, I think the whole PLE, specifically Saturday Night Main Event, it really had this theme, right, going on, where we saw a bunch of different NXT stars come on the actual PLE, where they were facing a lot of main roster personnel. And, you know, we also kind of saw the trend of some others getting featured here. So I think what kicked off the night was, if I'm not mistaken, Cody Rhodes versus Oba Femi, which was a no contest. We had a little interference with Drew McIntyre. Obviously, their ongoing feud right now for the WWE Undisputed title. But we saw Oba Femi, you know, he had a really, you know, nice showing here. At the same time, you know, he had the little interaction with Cody Rhodes and pretty much putting Drew McIntyre into the mat at the very end. So we kind of like see a little bit of that happening. When we also had a really awesome tag team match with Dragon Lee and AJ Styles versus Javon Evans and Leon Slater. I thought that was a hell of a tag team match. Really great representation for TNA. Well, I think Leon Slater doing a hell of a job with this whole partnership with NXT and TNA, and having very good exposure here on the WWE Saturday Night Main Event card. And you know, what's there not to say about Javon Evans, right? Javon Evans is clearly the future here. And I think, again, it just plays into the whole theme of what this whole card was all about, was, you know, showcasing a lot of the future, you know, stars of WWE here, along with some of the TNA stars. And then we also had Bailey versus Sol Ruca. That also was a great match. Nice showing here. You know, me obviously being a big Bailey fan, I saw that, you know, the potential of Sol Ruca as a main event or main card superstar, right? Or
Main roster.
Superstar. That's what I was trying to say. But yes, thank you. See, that's why we can't do this by ourselves, right?
Exactly. Help each other out.
And clearly the main event, right? Is John Cena's last in-ring performance. So I know we've talked about this off like the off this platform, and, you know, like shooting text back and forth with the the panel, I should say. I'm like fumbling my words today. But nonetheless, you know, the panel, and you know, shout out Cuzzo, shout out Jay, you know, I think we pretty much had, I wouldn't say, like, kind of like the same sentiment of the result. And, you know, I'm gonna kind of stop speaking for a bit. Nick, what did you think, man?
I enjoyed it. I thought that was the right way to end it. I know a lot of people were not fans. It's an understatement to say a lot of people are not fans of the way John Cena. No, that's a huge understatement to say.
Very much so.
Yeah, a lot of people weren't fans of it. A lot of people felt like John Cena should have gotten the hero's farewell treatment as far as him leaving WWE. You know what I mean? Like the whole standing tall, walking out tall on his his last match. I feel like he did the right thing. I feel like I know people say that the whole passing the torch thing, leaving it all for the business is an old past practice thing. But I'm not gonna try and compare it to like maybe my work line of work, or maybe even your line of work, or maybe somebody's line of work, but I want to say in like maybe even like certain types of workplaces, you want to leave it better than you like they were saying, right? You want to leave it better than you found it.
Right.
And in some types of ways, you want to improve the workplace, right? You want to go in, you're going to see flaws as you go into your workplace, and you want to certain people want to improve what they see in their workplace. And John Cena was one of those guys, right? He wanted to improve his workplace. That's what we're all forgetting, is that while WWE is an entertainment product, it's also a workplace for these guys, right? And he wanted to leave it better than what he found it as. And part of that for him, and it's a pride thing, right? For a guy, it's a pride thing that leaving it like that was like leaving everything on the table. And that's exactly how he wanted to go out. And if you look at it, and I'm pretty sure we had talked about this, like if John Cena had won that match, everybody would have talked about it, would have celebrated, and maybe talked about it the next day, maybe. And that would have been it. But Gunther winning that match created so much heat, so much vitriol for that guy that it lasted for over a week. I mean, it's still going. So him losing to Gunther, it served its purpose. And John Cena, being the businessman he is, he knew that was going to happen. He knew that was the intended purpose of what he was doing. And everybody's seen the whole smile, his little smirk when he tapped out, right? And I don't know if you've seen that. I don't know if you've seen that statement that Matt Hardy left on top. I think he left it on Twitter.
As a matter of fact, I did.
Right. And
I commented on it too.
Oh, did you? Yo, okay.
Yeah.
So I seen that, and I thought Matt Hardy, he the way he put it was so well thought out.
Right.
I thought it was so well thought out. For those of you who haven't seen it, I think you guys should go read it. I think it's a really well thought out piece that he put on it. Basically, the way he put it out, and this is not verbatim. I can't say it verbatim because I have to look it up. But anyway, basically, he's just saying that John Cena, his body's been falling apart. He's been holding WWE on his shoulders for the better half of 2 decades, and basically the smirk on his face was him knowing that he has nothing left to give, and he's left it all on the table, and he's happy with what he's done. And that's all he's had. He gave all he had to give, and he's happy with what he did. And I was happy with the Gunther match. Now, as far as Saturday night main event goes, every match was great. I thought it was good. Javon Evans, fantastic. I will say, though, my favorite match of the night, and I may just be biased here because he is my favorite up-and-comer, even though I think the match was cut maybe like 4 or 5 minutes too short. Oba Femi versus Cody Rhodes. That was my favorite match. Only because Oba had a fantastic showing. I think I think Oba had a really strong showing. It showed his potential. I think Cody Rhodes did a really good job helping to showcase what Oba could potentially be when he comes to the main roster. But I thought overall, yeah, it was good.
Yeah, Oba's definitely. I'll speak a little bit more on Oba, but I think he's main roster ready.
Oh yeah,
He's
absolutely,
definitely ready.
absolutely.
Yeah, you can
That's
definitely incorporate him any roster right now on that main roster, SmackDown or Raw. I see the matchups happening. And it's interesting because he clearly seems to be a crowd favorite, but he can definitely still be the heel. But I think when it comes to these matchups, as far as the potential matchups on the main roster, I am pretty excited about it. And at the same time,
I think he's gonna be SmackDown bound because they did show promos for him on SmackDown. I'd love to see him on Raw, but I think he's SmackDown bound. But I mean, whichever side he goes, I think he'll do great, bro. That entrance is main roster worthy already, dude. I love his entrance. His entrance is fantastic.
He's got aura, right?
He does.
Just that aura, when those drums hit.
He does.
Yeah, so it's definitely like something I'm looking forward to, and not if, but when it happens, right?
Yep.
I kind of want to reverse it a little bit, talking about that post from Matt Hardy. I actually found it here, so let me go ahead and read it out real quick here. As Cena has been saying publicly, his body has been breaking down and he can't take the in-ring abuse anymore. John has lived with the pressure of carrying WWE on his back for 2 decades, which is stressful. It was his final match after getting out of Gunther's sleeper multiple times. After getting locked in it the final time, he was physically and mentally spent. He had nothing left to give. I think Cena came to the realization that he didn't have to fight anymore, didn't have to carry the company anymore, didn't have to live up to his unrealistic expectations anymore. He just let go. John found solace in finally being able to quit, hence the smirk. In his mind, he didn't tap out. He clocked out and was walking away from the burden of being the face and flag bearer of WWE. John Cena finally let go and found it euphoric. His 23-year journey was finally finished.
See, I love that.
Me too. And this is why, right? I'll start off by saying, I myself enjoyed the ending. I also agree that it served its purpose because not only did John Cena put somebody else over, we saw the creation of a monster heel in Gunther. And with all the build, him going through the tournament, winning those matches, he clearly has significant momentum going into next year. Now, as not just as a heel, but he is clearly a top heel in the company, or probably in wrestling in general, because of the way it the way it happened, the way it transpired. Him going over Cena, making him tap out. The irony, right? The guy that says never give up, tapped out. But take it for what it is. I think it's very subjective. A lot of people, specifically, I'll say this straight up, Cena fans, the hardcore Cena fans, are so irate, talking about how Triple H or TKO, WWE, why would you make Cena go out the way he went out in his final match? The guy that is supposed to live, breathe the never give up persona, right? So you saw that happen. We all saw that happen. Now, again, it's very subjective as far as how you interpret. Now, the way Matt Hardy broke it down, it's clearly the way I saw it. Because at the same time, a few days later, Cena posted a picture of Obi-Wan Kenobi. That was the one shot that you see of Obi-Wan Kenobi right before Darth Vader takes him out. So what does that tell you? It's clear that he knew he gave all that he had. He clearly didn't give up just like that. We saw the very ending of this match. He had so much to give to Gunther, and none of it was enough. Gunther kept coming back. And by the time he locked in that sleeper hold, although John kept fighting it off, it was just too much, right? And yes, we understand the storytelling of this specific match and just how it portrayed itself. If we're going to look at it from a storytelling perspective, right? It's it is kind of those like moments where it's like very poetic in a sense when you see John just have that look on his face and then he smiles, like, oh, that was just kind of like, oh, what's going on here, right? Like, why would you be smiling if you're ready to, like pretty much tap out or faint or give up in that sense. So it was clear there was something that was on his mind at that moment, taking it all in, really looking at what was in his presence right before he's tapping out. And I don't think I don't think the way Matt Hardy had expressed it should have been any different. I think it was perfectly said, right? So the way he went out, he went on his own terms. He chose to give up, but it's not giving up. It's, I give you everything I had. That's how I took it.
And if you look at when Darth Vader took out Obi-Wan also knew he was playing the long game, right?
Mm-hmm.
He knew he was playing the long game, and Cena the same thing. Story wise, back end, he knows he's playing the long game.
That's a good point.
You know what I mean? Even if he is actively not part of the roster after that night, his contribution to that match left a long lasting effect that rippled throughout, for at least a week, even longer. Just the effect it had for him, not just losing but tapping out. It caused so much heat on Gunther. And what, 2 Raws after that, until even after CM Punk came out, you could feel the heat when CM Punk came out, right? That second week that Gunther came out taunting the crowd. It's just, dude, like, Gunther's on fire right now. And he doesn't even have to do anything.
You just took the words out of my mouth.
Yeah.
He doesn't even doing much, right? He's just doing like these little short promos, laughing in people's faces. Yeah, it's like such heat, right?
Bro, this is like literally Dominic Mysterio level heat.
Probably even higher than that.
No, yeah, it's bad.
In all honesty, I think higher than that. And
it's bad.
And it's interesting that you say that, right? The ripple effect of how it impacted so many people, like as wrestling fans, nearly a week. But let's think about this, right? Gunther can take that for the rest of his life and be like, I'm the one guy that retired Cena and made him give up. Like, you can't take that away from this guy now. That's a notch under your belt. Another notch.
Bro, and if I was Gunther, I would be eating this up, bro. Like,
yeah, absolutely.
I would be eating this up. Like, you don't know how grateful I would be to Cena. If this is what happened and I was Gunther, like, I would be so grateful. Because just, you're getting such a reaction out of the crowd. You're literally, all you have to do is walk out there. You don't have to do anything. You just have to literally stand in the ring and smile. And you're getting Dominic Mysterio level heat. And that, bro, that's crazy amounts of heat. You know what I mean? It's wild.
Yeah. And now he's like teasing AJ Styles, teasing CM Punk. It's like these guys are probably going to be lined up to face him potentially in their retirement year, right?
Oh yeah.
It's almost like they're foreshadowing like Gunther as the new legend killer, the guy that is going to retire everybody, and that makes me such a bigger fan. I can't express that more. How much of a bigger fan I became of Gunther's after that match, just because of the reaction. Yep. Just because of the reaction, right?
Yep. And I remember, I'll call a spade. I remember saying I did not want to see Gunther versus Cena. And I'm a huge Gunther fan, dude. I'll almost say I'm a Gunther stan. But I didn't want to see Gunther versus Cena because I seen so many other opportunities for Cena's last match. But after seeing what they pulled off with Gunther versus Cena and the effect that it had, dude, I'm here for it. It's great.
It just made sense to me. Like, I know that we've talked potential last opponents. So I think Edge would have just been probably perfect in the sense because of their rivalry, like, a very historic rivalry between those two. But if we're gonna go down and really think about the influence that Cena has had over the industry, which was really, who's next and who's going to be the next one to take the baton and run with it, right? That's what Cena's all about, right? And just thinking about that debut he had against Kurt Angle, right? Kurt Angle was calling out the locker room, pretty much who's going to step up. And that's what Cena's been his entire career. Every time trying to have any challenger step up to him, right? Whether they're old, new, tenured, veteran, you name it. He found ways to elevate people, right? And I think that's the one thing that you can take away with John Cena is that he always elevated people. I know there's people that probably talked about him burying talent, but it's like the vast majority doesn't seem to really resonate with that, because at the end of the day, this guy was so humble and very, very influential in terms of his wrestling career, and even outside of that, right? I would say like his contributions to the industry. I even put a post saying I would consider Cena as the Muhammad Ali of pro wrestling, in that aspect of not just somebody that has been influential in the industry, but also outside of the industry, and how he affected so many people's lives, right? And even on like a social level, thinking about all the Make-A-Wish, contributions he's made, that alone, on top of like his busy schedule and what he now does, for Hollywood, is just it's crazy. Like the guy doesn't have to, he does it. You know what I mean? And I think that's why I have so much respect for him. Not to mention when I had the opportunity to meet him in San Diego with my kids, it's not even like that moment with me and my kids. I think watching people actually line up to see him and take the time to really have conversations with him, he was so patient and very giving with his time. He would never rush people. And I think there's a lot of videos out there where there's fan interactions where it's very rare to see him, kind of waver off fans in public. And he's very generous with his time. I don't think there's a lot of people that we can say that about, right? And I think that's why I have so much respect for him. And I hold him in that high regards. So I personally, felt like, it's that was like kind of one of our generational talents, like us growing up as wrestling fans, in our age range, seeing somebody that has built themselves up to be clearly one of the greatest and retire in that same lifetime as, us witnessing it, it's definitely a true pleasure, right?
I will say though, the one mistake that I will hold against John Cena, one mistake I will hold against him,
what
is him burying the Nexus. I will forever hold that against you, John Cena. I cannot.
I think they forgave him.
No.
Wade Barrett seems okay now. Otunga seems okay with it.
No, Otunga is not okay with him.
No, he did say that. He said he's at peace with him. Yeah.
Did you watch?
I know he said a bunch of things recently prior to the retirement, and then he kind of, he was able to kind of say like, I'm at peace with it.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool.
He's at peace.
Yeah,
with
it. I know Wade's cool with it, but I was a huge Nexus fan. Oh man, I just didn't. That was the only thing I didn't like. That was the only thing I didn't like that John Cena did, was he buried the Nexus. I was a huge Nexus fan.
You know what? But other than that, he was making sure that these guys, the Bray Wyatts, the Wade Barretts, would be able to break off of that group and have really established solo careers. That's what he was trying to do. That's why he had to break it up. If they stuck together too long, then who knows? I believe in the butterfly effect, my friend.
Oh no!
Who knows what could have happened?
I cannot.
Hey, but that's a hypothetical, right?
The Nexus was so good. The Nexus was so good. But you know what? The Nexus spawned a lot of good talent out of their group.
It did. yeah, not to, we didn't mention everybody. Obviously, some of them have gone on to do really well, obviously, in their careers. Clearly, I think one of them that we're not mentioning here, Daniel Bryan, clearly a huge impact in pro wrestling. But at the same time, the Heath Slaters, Ryback, he had his moments. But at the same time, like he definitely was part of that group. But yeah, like it's interesting, right? I think when we think back at the end of the day, when you look at the whole, I want to say like the whole history of John Cena's career and how it influenced most of these wrestlers, it's you can't argue that it was mostly positive.
It was a fantastic career. It was absolutely fantastic.
Right. And I did say this off the record, right? I'm very, very peeved with the IWC with this whole reaction to John Cena's retirement match. And this is where I'm going with it, right? This is the same group of people, and we know everybody knows this. The same group of people that denounced Vince McMahon, they had the audacity to say, bring Vince back.
One more time? Say it again?
The same group of people that denounced Vince McMahon want him back.
Oh.
They want to get rid of Triple H. They want TKO to fire him. They want... What else did they want? Oh, they want new stars. They want to push the future. But at the same time, we're talking about, oh, we should have had Edge, or we should have had Randy Orton. Oh, we should have CM Punk. It's like, again, think about the irony and the contradiction of what some of these fans are saying. At the same time, you guys saw and heard Cena go out in public, talk about his retirement match and the ending. People still mad.
Oh yeah.
Like what the hell is wrong with people, right? You took whatever it is that you wanted to deflect to Triple H. Now you want to put it on Cena, even though it was his choice to do this. Regardless if you want to say partially his choice or still TKO or Triple H's creative, doesn't matter. Because at the end of the day, it's not you. I guess a lot of times, right, we think about the things that are going to make us happy and our expectations. We put that before anybody else's, right? We put that before John Cena, if anything, to think that, okay, we should have had it this way. We wanted it this way. Well, guess what? It wasn't your call. It was not your call. At the end of the day, you can be mad. It's totally fine. But let's cut the BS. All of this hypocritical shit is just, it's old. It gets so old because you're mad. You're going to say nonsense like that. IWC, do better. Do better. Yeah, like I'm part of this group. Be better.
Yeah, we're part of the IWC too.
It's embarrassing.
IWC too, but we know the cycle. You guys are threatening to quit watching wrestling and then
go watch something else. Go watch AEW. Start chanting AEW while you're at the WWE events. Oh, good for you.
Triple H being a troll. Well, I thought it was going to be louder.
Oh, that made me laugh. I was applauding. I was applauding it. I was like, oh, you really hurt his feelings there, right? You still paid the money to go there. Then stop spending money on WWE. If you're that upset, stop going to these events and vocalizing your displeasure with it by just stop spending money.
That's the only way.
That's the reality of it. How stupid it is for you to go out there and show your displeasure, say the other company's name at a WWE event because you're unhappy. You look like a fool. You're a dummy. That's what you are at the end of the day.
Yep, absolutely.
I guess for honestly with the couple of weeks that had passed by, I allowed myself to kind of cool down a bit here, and this is a little bit more of a PG version.
This is the tempered version.
Very
tempered version.
HR version, I would say. But let's be honest here. I think everybody has the right to feel a certain way about the way it happened.
Sure.
I know that people are not fully on board with the way Cena's retirement tour was, but what ifs, shoulda, wouldas, it's not going to happen. We're done. We're over. And it's time to move forward, right? The thing here is, as fans, we need to check ourselves because at the end of the day, when you spend the money, that's your money, right? You can vocalize, be whatever. Yes, I'm not saying that you can not have an opinion, but think about what you're saying sometimes because it just sounds stupid. It sounds ridiculous. And at the end
Absolutely.
of the day, that's on you. But Cena was definitely, a big part of 2025, right? And now that we're kind of towards the end of the year, there's been a lot of things that had occurred this year, and we can talk Cena, specifically for the WWE side, but at the same time, AEW had a hell of a year. And where am I going with this? Recently Sports Illustrated had just talked about the Sports Illustrated Pro Wrestling Awards, where they nearly swept. And when I say nearly sweep, AEW did, right?
AEW did. AEW
So,
did.
And I'm gonna give them their flowers here. Kudos to them. Just to kind of give you guys an idea of what we're talking about here. AEW won promotion of the year. Hangman Adam Page won male wrestler of the year. Mercedes Moné, Nick's favorite, won female wrestler of the year. The match of the year was awarded to the triple threat female matchup between Rhea Ripley, Io Sky, Bianca Belair at WrestleMania 41. I believe night 2. I was there for that. Hell of a match. FTR won for Tag Team of the Year. Will Ospreay, Best In-Ring Talent. Timeless Tony Storm, Best on Mic. Breakout Star of the Year, Kyle Fletcher. John Cena received the Legacy Award for his retirement tour. Storyline of the year for Adam Page's redemption arc. Rivalry of the year also with Adam Page and Jon Moxley. AEW Double or Nothing was the show of the year. Naomi's heel turn. Naomi's heel turn was the heel turn of the year. Ilya Dragunov was the comeback performer of the year. And yeah, pretty much if you go down that list, a bunch of AEW superstars and matches and just down that whole list of, they pretty much swept it. And, kudos to them. I think it's a great thing, specifically for a company that has been considered second to WWE, since its inception. They've obviously had great years and great PLEs and matches. And, when you're watching wrestling, I've always said this, everybody has their preference. If you love action and you like the pure aspect of professional wrestling, AEW can definitely be your cup of tea. Now, to see them achieve some of these awards, specifically like Storyline of the Year, Best on the Mic, like these are some pretty big deal awards. Why? Because it doesn't necessarily talk about wrestling. It talks
That's
about
huge.
promos, right? Storytelling. Those are definitely other components to being a professional wrestler, and they have those under their belt with their superstars. So it's quite telling. It's quite telling of where they're at and how well they're doing, right? And I'm not going to take any of that away. Now, on the flip side, though, not to say that WWE didn't have their high points here. We've also been very critical as far as how the whole year transpired. 2025 has had highs and lows for WWE. And I think a vast majority of it would be considered on the low end, right? Now, where I'm going with this, Nick, do you feel AEW really had a breakout year? Or was WWE just not that good in 2025? What do you think about that?
When you had when you had shot this topic to me, I really had to think about it because it was an interesting topic, and I really did have to think about it. Because of the way that you worded it. Because I remember reading this article and I wasn't surprised at a lot of it. There were certain ones that I didn't agree with.
Which one? Which one in particular?
Yeah, you know exactly which one I didn't agree with.
No, female wrestler?
Exactly. Exactly.
Who would you put there?
Well,
Would you put
okay.
there?
So me personally, I could name a handful of other female wrestlers that I personally think are way better than Mercedes Moné, and
Okay,
I think
put him up there.
and
Let's-
I think Mercedes Moné is only up there because of that whole 15. How many 15 titles that she has?
Yeah, she was belt collecting, right? She's,
Right. And honestly, I think that's the only reason she's up there. But I think that whole like shtick that she ran was like, I think it was frivolous. I'll be honest. I think it got kind of tiresome after a while. She's only up there because of that, and it wasn't even that great of a run. Tony Storm had a banger of a year.
Okay.
And you know what? And I've made it known that I'm not really an AEW watcher, but just the fact that AEW has caught my attention quite a few times this year. Story-wise is where they caught my attention. And that's what I like to watch. I like to watch a lot for the story, right? Like I'm a story kind of guy. Of course, I love wrestling, right? I love the wrestling aspect of wrestling. Why would you watch wrestling if you don't like the wrestling aspect? But of course, I love the build up to it. I love the story aspect of wrestling. And AEW has caught my eye quite a few times. And a lot of times it had to do with Tony Storm.
Okay.
And it was that Tony Storm and was it Mariah May? They were feuding earlier this year.
Yeah, just before Mariah May
left
signed
for
with
NXT, right? Right.
Yeah, because that was like initially like her last feud on the way out.
Right. So I thought that was great. What else? John Moxley.
Well, let's go back a little bit because you said you had a handful
of
females.
Okay.
Who were the other ones?
Of course, my girl Io Sky. I think Io Sky is like way better than Monet.
Okay.
I think Io's way better. Who else? Cuzzo gotta throw a shout out for Cuzzo's girl Sol Ruka. She's making a name for herself out there. I think she's doing fantastic. She's really making a name for herself, showing what she can do, putting her name out there, getting herself known on the main roster. For those who don't know who only watch the main roster and don't watch NXT, I dabble in NXT sometimes. I don't have the ability to watch it all the time because I'm so busy with work. But when I do get to watch it, it's nice to watch her. But now that she's showing up on the main roster more often, Sol Ruka is awesome. Of course, Rhea. I think Rhea's way better than Monet. Asuka's always a great wrestler.
Now, sorry to interrupt you, but now are you saying that they had a better year than her though, or are you just saying they're a better wrestler?
Okay, maybe not Asuka has a better year, but I think Rhea did have a better year. I think Io had a better year.
Okay.
I think the ladies that I think Sol had a better year than her.
There's one name that you haven't mentioned that I would say I would actually put over Mercedes.
Maybe even I would even say Vakur, even better than her.
I was gonna say her.
She had a rocket strapped to her back right from the get-go, right when she hit the main roster.
Yeah, I would say Vakur, in my opinion, probably had a better year than Monet. And I'm not even trying to hate on Monet, but to the point of what you were saying about her holding those titles. No, I know, but let's be honest. I think that gimmick of her collecting belts was already done by the likes of Kenny Omega, obviously Ultimo Dragon, and I think at the end of the day, when you really look at how they did it with Monet, it almost felt like, I guess this is the reason why it kind of felt like a little bit to me. I don't know how much truth there is to it, but at the same time, I know she was charging, or like charging for appearances for a lot of these indie shows, and there was rumors of it also being that she had to go over, which is like, really, like, I guess, like, yeah, you are a main roster superstar for AEW, and at the same time, why would you take an L against somebody in the indies, right? So it made sense in that aspect, but at the same time, I feel like you collecting all these belts, like, what are you really doing with it at the end of the day? Where is it going? Where are we going with this? Personally, I am not really the biggest fan of people going to other promotions, and this is not just for wrestlers in AEW. I'm also kind of alluding into like the whole WWE piece of it. How sometimes they've captured TNA's titles, and they've also captured AAA titles. So I'm not really a big fan of that. I get why it's giving the exposure, especially for the smaller companies on the bigger brand, like the bigger promotions, network television. But at the same time, it almost feels like it devalues to a certain degree that the person that's holding this title is outside of the actual promotion, and it doesn't feel good. So the fact that she held almost 15 titles, and not sure exactly how many of them were even just AEW solely, it just felt weird. It just didn't feel right.
I think if you go outside of your promotion, so like let's say like the whole WWE TNA thing, right? I think if you go outside of your promotion and win a title, and let's say like you win a title from WWE, wins a title from TNA, but it's one of those things where you take but you give back kind of thing. It's a give and take,
right?
Win and lose kind of thing, right? So it's a mutual benefit, and it's like a 1-for-1 kind of thing. I think in that sense it's okay, but when you're taking, and you get 15, and then you just don't know what you're gonna do with all of them, and then you're not intending to lose any of them, I think that's where it gets kind of ridiculous. And to make things worse is that like she's trying to compare herself to Ultimo Dragon, which she can't do. Like, if you're trying to compare yourself to Ultimo Dragon because you have the belts, that's just like the wrong thing to do, because the thing about Ultimo Dragon is that Ultimo Dragon has prestige. You know what I mean? Like, you say the name Ultimo Dragon, there's a level of prestige that comes with his name. His wrestling game is just top tier. You know what I mean? When you see Ultimo Dragon come to the ring, you know you're gonna get a clinic. You know that guy is gonna put on a really good match. He always had good matches. He was one of my favorite wrestlers growing up, Ultimo Dragon, and you knew he was gonna have a good match. I can't say the same for Mercedes Moné. I can't say the same for her. Like, there's not that level of prestige with her. So it's like, you know what I mean? And
like, she doesn't have the aura, right?
She doesn't.
It doesn't feel like when you know Ultimo Dragon, definitely back in the days of like him in Japan having all those titles, it came with this aura,
right,
of him collecting them,
right. And
this doesn't feel the same way,
right? And I'm sure when the time came, and I can't say for sure because I don't know, but I'm sure when the time came for Ultimo Dragon to lose those belts, I'm pretty sure he sold the shit out of losing those belts, because Ultimo Dragon could sell the shit out of any move.
And maybe we're speaking too soon, because at the same time, I'm going to give her the benefit of the doubt, right? How she loses it, and in terms of also putting over those people that she loses it to, will definitely make me reassess this whole situation to see
Sure.
whether or not there was a payoff to it, right?
Right,
And
right.
and when I say payoff, specifically not just to the people that win those titles off of her, but also for her herself. Because yes, it'll be interesting to see how long she holds those titles. At the same time, when she loses them and how she loses them, that will really tell me whether or not this was worth it.
The how she loses is super important too. Like if she just goes in there and it's like a squash match, then I mean, it's for nothing, right? Like if she just goes in there and just like, 2-minute match and she gets pinned and she loses the match, and that's kind of a waste. But if she goes in there, puts some effort in, and then like gives a solid like maybe like 7 to 10 minute match and she puts effort into it, then yeah, maybe I'll give props where props is due. But until then, like I feel like this is a waste of time.
Yeah. No, and definitely, you definitely, how I'm gonna say this is, I feel like you were either talking to Jay prior to this, speaking on all your Ultimo Dragon facts. Otherwise, you hit the nail on the head.
Me and Jay, me and Jay, we just right here. We right here, Jay. We right here, bro.
But honestly, like I think when we comes down to that though, like I feel like there were other options here. And I do feel like they gave Mercedes the title, or this female wrestler of the year, specifically because of her, collecting title belts and whatnot. Otherwise, yeah, like, and she's had good matches, but honestly, to me, or not like memorable. Like, if there's anything I'm gonna say that's been memorable for me, still to my, to me, my opinion, the best female wrestling match ever. Her and Bailey, NXT Takeover, Part 1, the first one. Like, and not to say the second one wasn't a banger. That was if I'm not mistaken, an Iron Women's match, but that match to me was just like, it drew me to enjoy women's wrestling. To me, I was like, this is what women's wrestling is going to be moving forward. I'm all in, that's, I'll say that, she clearly was part of one of my favorite matches of all time. But outside of this, sorry.
Okay. Yeah, sorry. So, so we went totally off the reservation on this. But going back to the whole question of, did WWE just have a shitty year?
Yes.
Or
WWE really kicked this ass.
Yeah.
Right.
Or was AEW that good? How I feel this year went, I think WWE had some high spots, but I think WWE was kind of mid this year. Like I feel like they were okay. They just they did good in some spots. They were okay in some spots.
Do you feel the John Cena retirement tour hijacked the entire year for WWE?
No, I don't feel like that did.
Really?
Yeah, no, I don't, because there were times where John Cena was gone for weeks. There were stretches where he was gone, and if you can't capitalize on John Cena being gone, if you can't capitalize on dead space where John Cena's not there and make something with your storyline, then I don't know what to tell you. You know what I mean? Like, that's your opportunity right there. I don't feel like John Cena's farewell tour hijacked the whole WWE thing. Sure, that may have been like maybe the biggest focal point of WWE's year. Maybe. Probably. That was probably the biggest focal point.
It had to be.
Yeah. Yeah. That was probably the biggest focal point. But that didn't stop anybody else from making their storyline as big as it could have been. And that was up to them, because Jey Uso winning the Royal Rumble was huge, right? Him becoming the world champion was huge. Him tapping out Gunther was huge.
But remember when he won the Rumble, it was at the cost of eliminating Cena.
Right.
Cena went in the whole thing about, this is my last Royal Rumble. He was making it about, again, my last Rumble, last chance, right?
Right. But I mean, there was so much going on, and I mean, the ladies took so much opportunity this year, and like they said on WWE Unreal, right? Triple H said the quiet part out loud. The women are getting it. The women understand what they need to do, and it's crazy to me. Like I I don't remember a time where I've paid way more attention to the women's division than I have to the men's. And don't get me wrong, like there's still certain part of the men's division that I love, but I pay a lot of attention to the women's division, and not for the reason that you perverts are thinking, but you know what I mean. Like, dude, a lot of the women's division, the wrestling is fantastic.
The perverts love the plot, though.
Oh yeah, we all love the plot. You know what I mean? Like, dude, the wrestling is fantastic, and it's getting better. With Naomi's heel turn, that was great. I mean, her cash in, her new character, that was great. Io Sky, Bianca Belair, and Rhea Ripley, dude, that night 2 WrestleMania, that was fire. And I mean, just women's wrestling all around this year was it was great. The
Right.
Stephanie Vecker versus Io Sky for the women's world championship, dude, that was such a good match.
Uh-huh.
Women's wrestling this year has been absolutely on fire. So it's like I can't say that John Cena totally hijacked it. So I think that WWE had high spots, but overall it was kind of mid. And I think AEW just stepped up their game this year. And good for them. Good for them for stepping up their game, realizing where their weak spots was, and capitalizing on WWE becoming too complacent. Accepting that they're the leader and not really focusing on what they needed to focus on. WWE is so focused on global branding at the moment, and we can all see it. That's what they're focused on right now is global branding, global expansion, money, 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 money. And of course, it's always been about money. They're a business, right? I get it. WWE is a business. It's always going to be about money. But they're so hyper focused on global expansion that it's obvious to the fans that they've become that this year they were super mid to me. And AEW took that opportunity. They stepped up their game and they became noticeable. And that's why they got what they got on top that list. And props to them. That's my take on it.
I'll have to disagree with you and say that I feel like WWE was at the mercy of Cena's retirement tour.
Oh, really?
And this is the thing, right? I think you made some really good points as far as how well the women's division was doing, how some people stepped up their game, specifically in the women's division, right? We had some pretty good storylines happening on that end. What's such unfortunate was that, like with Naomi's heel turn, that again, clearly, was picked as the heel turn of the year by Sports Illustrated. Who knows how that could have panned out? Obviously, it's not one of those things where I'm like, it sucks, that it got cut short, but she obviously had good reasons for it. Personally,
she's coming back hard, dude. She's gonna come back hard.
How does she get perceived or, brought back? Will she be a bigger heel? Will she kind of play onto that, or people will welcome her back? We don't know. I think she does come back as a pretty good heel still, but I just feel like everything got overshadowed by the whole Cena retirement tour. And because of the expectations of the fans of how it panned out and how things went in terms of his opponents, and in terms of the heel turn, in terms of the way he went out on his last match, were overshadowing almost every single thing that happened in WWE this year. Let's be real. if there's any gripe or disappointment from anyone like as a WWE fan, is how the WWE did Cena's retirement tour. And I feel like that has almost overshadowed a lot of the highlights of what the WWE has done this year. Because again, we saw up and coming stars. We saw the partnership between NXT and TNA, which I personally thought was a win. We saw some people cross over from AEW to NXT. Ricky Saints, Mariah May, who am I missing here? I feel like I'm missing other people, but like those are two top free agents coming from AEW. They're clearly, known superstars. I feel like some of these things are like kind of forgotten. We're obviously, the more recent things, right, with like Oba Femi and Trick Williams, these people coming up from NXT, I feel again like are kind of like hidden in the back burner here because of the whole Cena retirement tour. I think the one thing that sticks out to me is SummerSlam, the whole Seth Rollins swerve was probably one of my favorite moments.
That was awesome.
I was marking out when that went down, and the way he did it was my gosh.
Trust issues, bro.
It's crazy, right? Because I'll say for me, I think it took me back to WrestleMania, my very first WrestleMania, 31 in Santa Clara, the heist of the century, him cashing in during the Roman Reigns, Brock Lesnar main event, and becoming the world champion at that time. That made me go back to that. And I feel like the way he pulled it off this time was so good. It was so good, right? And again, I think these moments got lost in the whole shuffle of John Cena's retirement tour. The Netflix premiere, right? The whole Netflix premiere, obviously treated as a big deal. I was there at Intuit Dome. The stars came out that night, being in LA, and it was a hell of a debut on Netflix. Oh, another AEW, some other AEW talent, Penta, Ray Phoenix, right? We had those guys jumped into the WWE. Again, I feel like a lot of these names or a lot of these events overshadowed by the whole John Cena thing. Clearly, because John Cena rolled the whole year, and he announced his retirement back in I think Money in the Bank 2024, right? Saying that he's going to retire this year. And because of that end date, and we knew like he was going to be done, I think that's where we got too caught up into the whole, we only got this much time left with John Cena. I personally, if I was able to do anything different with the John Cena retirement tour, I personally would have not wanted to know when his last day was.
Okay,
that could have been a storyline piece. That could have been a storyline piece, right? Where if he ever gave up or if he ever lost, it could have been like the Flair retirement in a sense, right? But why not make it the whole, if I ever give up, I am done? How crazy would have that been, right? The guy that says never give up says, if I ever give up or tap out, I am done. You wouldn't know, right? You wouldn't know. He could have faced so many people trying to submit his ass and have him not tap out. Then we would be like, we'll be kind of like on the edge still, thinking like, oh shoot, could it be this next person? Could it be his next opponent? Right?
Do you think that the fact that they only gave him so many dates also contributed to the fact that?
And that's what I'm saying. That was like one of my biggest arguments, right? Is that what could we really expect with the amount of dates that were given? Like as much as we love long-term storytelling, how much of that could have been played into the dates that he was given or he had given, right? It had to be mutual to a certain degree, right? And
because you heard he offered like 200 something dates, right?
Right. And at the same time though, we're talking about, I believe it was on Chris Van Vliet or another podcast where he already had planned his retirement 5 years ahead, meaning he already anticipated that he was going to retire back in 2020, 5 years down the road. And a lot of it had played into the fact that his whole movie schedule had freed up. He wasn't as tied up this year. Granted, he was going to be more dedicated to being able to commit to these events and more appearances, right? But he wanted what, 200 something dates? But then, like, do we even have 200 something dates of like live appearances outside of like maybe house shows?
I don't think so. Not
That's
not
what
anymore.
I mean.
Not anymore.
Yeah, it's not like before, right?
Right. So yeah. So they,
Like he would have had to start last year, if anything.
So that's one of the things is that I know a lot of the OGs that are still wrestling say that it's a lot of the newer wrestlers are getting hurt because there's not that many live. Yeah, there's not. Right, there's not enough live shows, and the live shows are where they usually do it's where you usually do your mess ups, right? That's where you usually practice everything. So
keep yourself active, right?
Right,
ring active.
Right. That's where you get to test everything out. You know, it's a little more loose because it's a live event, no cameras. You can play around a little bit more. That's where you can test stuff out. There's not that many more of that. There's not that much more of that anymore. So the 200 dates weren't feasible.
And how they would promote it too, right? Venue wise, I think a lot of that plays into it. And it's not like people, plan these events at these venues just a year in advance. It happens to be years in advance. Like a lot of these venues book things way ahead of time, so that way they can obviously project and sell tickets and obviously forecast for a lot of that stuff. So things had to already been in writing beforehand, not just this year. I think a lot of people don't think about stuff like that too.
I think I would have booked Cena for way more of the televised events though.
I would have loved to. I would have loved
what I mean?
to.
At least give people if you didn't want to tell people about his retirement, like make it not a retirement tour, at the very least give him more dates as far as like being on televised shows, you know what I mean? And then you could go with the whole storyline that you just pitched and give people time to kind of like, you know what I mean? Just
and the reason why I do feel like it hijacked WWE's entire year is because, again, they promoted it as his retirement tour. They gave us an end date. And what did they do? They capitalized on it. Every single appearance made a lot of money, I'm sure, for every single town or every city he visited where he made his appearances. They capitalized. They promoted the hell out of merchandise, all of the swag you can ever think of specific to these appearances. It was a money grab at the end of the day, which is just like, that's why I think we got so fixated on like the whole Cena retirement tour as being such a whole focal point, and everything else kind of felt like an afterthought. And now, how do I tie this into AEW? I've always said this in the past as well. AEW, keep WWE out of your mouth and focus on AEW. Focus on your wrestlers. Focus on what you guys do well, which is promote your wrestlers and your style of wrestling, which is clearly catered to a very significant demographic of wrestling fans. And what did they do? They did just that.
They did exactly that.
They played their cards right.
They did.
And I think that's why it's successful, right? It's successful in that aspect of them focusing on what they needed to do and just promote the hell out of themselves. And I'll even go back to that whole interview that Tony Khan had with Ariel Helwani. Did a great job promoting his brand, not talking bad about anybody else, saying the most outlandish shit that you could probably think of, but at the same time promoting the hell out of your own wrestlers, your talent, and all your events leading into the end of the year. And look what happened, right? You had a really great year. So I'm not going to take anything away from them. Regardless how mid you may have thought WWE was, I personally thought there were a lot of things that went okay. I'm not even going to say bad. I thought they went okay, but it's also in contrast to the fact that I just feel like the whole John Cena retirement tour was hijacking a lot of these moments. That's just my opinion.
And you
I
know, you
think
could be right. You could be right. It could be that John Cena farewell tour just overshadowed everything else.
I feel like it really did.
Because now that you put it that way, like you just prattled off a bunch of things that I totally forgot about. You know, I feel like Penta and Ray Phoenix have been here longer than this year, but I totally forgot they just came in this year.
Mm-hmm.
I totally forgot that the Netflix debut was this past year, and yeah, I definitely didn't forget the SummerSlam thing. The SummerSlam thing was epic. The whole Seth Rollins thing was fantastic. But that gave me trust issues. But that was great. That to me was one that was one of the best. That was one of the best moments in WWE this year.
And a lot of people were saying too that SummerSlam was actually better than WrestleMania this year. As far as how some people perceived it.
It would, you know what?
Like Brock Lesnar obviously returning on night 2 also was a big shocker. We didn't see that. I did not see that coming.
That was huge.
And then obviously we saw Cena go back being a babyface, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, like that whole heel turn got cut short.
Yeah, and you know what? And the Cena Cody match at SummerSlam was pretty good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it's just like, again, some of these things, again, I feel like too much focus on one big thing here being Cena's retirement tour. And then clearly the expectations were through the roof in terms of like, how do you send off the GOAT? How do you write off his whole entire retirement tour, you know, to be a certain way where it's going to hit every single time? But clearly it missed the mark for a lot of people. In my opinion, it was okay. It wasn't the best. It wasn't the worst. I can always think of like other retirements where I would probably say this is not on top of my list, but it's, you know, I'm not the ones writing the stories, or I'm not paying the talent. I don't work for the company, as many people think I do. I don't work for WWE, so I have no creative control whatsoever of how they wrote Cena's retirement tour. Otherwise, I feel that AEW, again, kudos to them. Keep up what you're doing, because going into next year, there's going to be clearly expectations of supplanting what you did in 2025. And who's to say whether or not WWE is going to actually step up their game? Because from how I see it, next year is really going to be very important for them. Not just because you were talking about them, you know, globalizing the product, but also growing new stars. And I think a lot of homegrown talent is there, very noticeable. And this kind of actually would segue into what we'll talk about next. Who doesn't necessarily have to be WWE, but just in the industry, do you feel is going to run and own 2026?
Ooh.
Maybe not just who, but you can name a few. Who do you feel like will be claiming 2026?
I feel like an obvious one is going to be Braun Breaker. I feel like Braun Breaker is going to have a really big year in 2026.
I agree. Do you think he wins the title next month?
I think he wins the title.
Off CM Punk.
Off of CM Punk. Okay. And then I feel like Seth comes back, and I feel like there's going to be a program between Seth, CM Punk, and Breaker. Okay. I think there's going to be like a triple threat or something. I think that'd be a really good program.
At Mania?
I think Seth comes back at Mania.
So you're saying that triple threat with them two and Seth?
I want Breaker. I want Breaker to win it at Mania. I want Breaker to lose for a while. I want Breaker to hold off.
Okay. So
I
he
want-
doesn't beat CM Punk
Yeah.
then.
No, I don't want Breaker to win it just yet.
Mm.
I want Breaker to win it at Mania, and then have Seth come back at Mania. I think that'd be a nice. Nice ending. Night 2.
Mm-hmm. I think night 2 is going to be a totally different main event.
You think so?
Opinion.
You think so?
Yeah.
Or
I think that would main event night 1.
When I went, oh yeah, because we're going with the whole Cody Roman thing.
I believe that's what's gonna headline.
Oh yeah. You know, you're right. Then maybe not. I don't know. We could still do it. with the whole Breaker winning at Mania. I don't know. Breaker could win it earlier and then just do a hot potato until Mania, and then have Seth come back then. But I still say hold Seth off TV for a while. Keep him off of TV. I think it's better having Seth off TV for a while. Let people forget about Seth, and then bring him back when we least expect it. I think it's better that way.
It's kind of hard though. This guy keeps going on NFL Network and keeps showing off his arm, being fully recovered,
eating his celery,
moving around.
his celery.
Yeah, this dude here is like ready to come back. But we'll see in when he comes back.
Maybe
I'm thinking definitely WrestleMania season. Yeah. You think so? He could, but that'd be kind of interesting.
Not Hell in a Cell, but fucking
Elimination Chamber.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. I think Braun.
Yeah, Braun's. I think Braun's
he
gonna
would
have
win it.
Yeah, I think Braun's gonna have a huge year. They place him in the right. I think if they place him in the right spots, I think Javon Evans is gonna have a huge year.
Ooh, that's another name right there.
Oh, that guy is. I mean, I get why they haven't moved him up yet. They want to tie up loose ends on the NXT side, right? They want to make sure like they're absolutely ready to push him. They don't want to just throw him into the main roster and just lose him in the shuffle. I get it.
Yeah.
And I'm actually glad they're doing it that way. Like they're just like kind of like slowly moving him into the main roster. I like that they're doing that. That they're not just gonna put him in there and then they're just gonna lose him in the shuffle. I'd rather they do it that way.
Right. Do
it the right way. Get Javon Evans in slowly. Put him into the right storylines. Do Javon Evans will have a banger of a year. Of course.
How about women's? Oh, do you have another one?
Of course. Oba Femi, bro. I gotta go with my boy Oba. Oh, the ruler. Of course, Oba Femi. You know who else? Hey, I feel like is gonna have a good 2026 before we move to the women's. I feel like Drew is gonna have a good year.
Okay.
I feel like Drew's gonna have a good year.
I know a lot of people just feel like it's long overdue. I'm like,
I feel like it's overdue.
Man, like, it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen.
I feel like it's overdue. Okay, so moving into the women's division.
Oh, before you move into women's, anybody on the outside of WWE feel like might have a big year?
Not too familiar with any of the other promotions to say, so I'm not going to say anything on that.
That's fair.
Yeah. As far as women's, who's going to have a big year? I feel like Io and Rhea is going to continue to have a big year. And I feel like it's going to be against each other.
Got to be at some point.
Yep. I feel like Lash Legend is on the come up. I'm excited to see what she's going to do.
Okay.
And optimistically, the person I keep rooting for and I hope to see in the title scene one day, the big title scene. Because I think she deserves it. Maybe 2026, probably not. Nah, probably not.
Well, we are talking 2026, so maybe save it for the year.
I'll save it for 2027. Save it for 2027. She already is successful, but I think she's eventually gonna be super successful.
Okay.
I'll save it for 2027.
Okay. Any other ones? Any ones that you feel like would be kind of like a dark horse? Like somebody that you would unexpectedly think would have a big year.
Lyra. I think Lyra's going to have a good year.
Okay.
I think Lyra's going to have a good year.
Okay.
Yep. And I think that's all I can like really think off the top of my head right now.
Okay. Okay. No, I feel like I'd be echoing almost everything that you mentioned. So let me try to be a little creative here and see if there's anyone I feel like are not part of that list. Obviously I do agree with the Braun Breaker, Oba Femi, Javon Evans. I think those are like kind of like the key ones, right? Specifically the two from NXT, and then obviously Braun Breaker with the Vision at the moment. This is one I'm gonna throw out there, and I feel like I'll maybe say this would be the unexpected Austin Theory, because of the introduction of him being the Masked Man, and right now currently aligned with the Vision, but it almost makes me feel like, I know we haven't really talked about Austin Theory in a minute here because he's been off TV and now he's made himself return as the Masked Man. I clearly think he is going to be lined up for success going to 2026 as a dark horse.
I'm rooting for Austin Theory, but they really need to play their cards right with him.
Absolutely.
Honestly, I feel like this is a I don't want to say a last ditch effort, but this is gonna be either a live or die kind of thing for him.
Well, I think it is a last ditch effort.
Yeah, if they don't succeed on this one, I think this is it for Theory.
Yeah, I think him being off TV for a while has probably built a lot of intrigue, and
yeah, I'm rooting for him.
Especially aligning with the Vision and his motives, right? I think you can see that it almost feels like he's there, but he's got his own ulterior motives, not necessarily aligned with what the Vision's intents are. So could we see him, turn on the Vision? I totally think it's going to happen, and it may just set himself up to being a bigger star this year, or maybe he won't necessarily win any of the major titles, but I think he should. Now going into those that I feel like will have a 2026 or own 2026, here's one name you haven't mentioned. I believe LA Knight will. I think LA Knight is overdue for that push, even if
I agree.
Even if it's like a Jey Uso title run, him winning the world title and having it for that short interim time. I believe
just getting his name in the pot, right?
Yeah, I personally will say that he will be my pick to win the Royal Rumble this year. I just feel like he's just one of the fan favorites. He's constantly being backed and a lot of times being pushed aside to put somebody else over. But we only got so much time with him. He's not like a spring chicken himself, but he's got so much star power. He's definitely got the charisma. The fan base is there. I'm sure the moment he wins a Royal Rumble or even like Elimination Chamber for that matter, it's going to be a big pop, right? So I personally feel like he will be owning 2026 in the aspect of being a main event star, being a world champion as well. So that's who I pick. Now I'll even say on the outside, specifically for AEW, who I personally think may have a breakout year, I may have to say Konosuke Takeshita. I personally am not the biggest fan of the Don Callis family. To me, Don Callis annoys the shit out of me, but he probably plays the role good enough for me to feel that way about him.
That's probably why.
I'm cool with it. But it's also one of those things where, like, how many people do they need in this family? It's almost like to the point where the NWO is getting ridiculous, adding new members every single week, right? So that's how I feel about them. But there's something about Takeshita that I see with the whole Okada dynamic. It's very intriguing. I know with AEW World's End, they had their match. If I'm not mistaken, it was the semifinals match for the tournament, the Continental tournament that they had, and you could just see like how this this story intrigues me, just seeing their dynamic, right? Because it's clear to me that Don Callis is siding with Okada, and Okada's, always doing the things to kind of screw over Takeshita. And I feel like Takeshita is lined up for a great 2026 as well, leading into whatever feud he's going to have with Okada, or even like with maybe a world title holder at some point. So I actually have big hopes for him. Female side, jumping back to the WWE side, I really think Maxine Dupree is going to have a big 2026. Her having the IC title is just the start, right? And I think
she's done fantastic.
She's definitely leveled up. I definitely hope that she continues to get the screen time. She continues to improve her in-ring skill set. I know she clearly works really hard with Natty. Kudos to Natty. Natty makes everybody look good, right? Like, she's such a veteran, and her in-ring IQ has definitely elevated a lot of people's, in-ring skills.
She's definitely the boat.
Oh yeah. I'm honestly not the biggest Natty fan, but I respect her
Me
so
neither.
much.
Yep,
I respect her
same
so
here.
much.
Same here.
I will share the same sentiment about Lash Legend. She was called up to the main roster for a reason. I think she had a great showing at War Games. She shows her dominance. I think I know it seems like there's a lot of chatter as far as like she's what we want to see with Jade Cargill.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And I think it's unfortunate because yes, Jade Cargill, I don't think is as polished as Lash is.
She's not.
Now, I still think Lash Legend has to build on her name, because I personally think Jade Cargill has a bigger name.
She does.
Than Lash.
Yes, she does.
Now
Jade has the brand.
She does. She has the brand. She has the look. She clearly is marketable in that aspect. But I think Lash Legend, done right, can definitely be on her way to be the WWE version, right? Because we all know Jade came from AEW, brought her star power from that over here. But at the same time, she's not like the most polished wrestler. She is the WWE Women's Champion, but in my opinion, I don't know if this is where it's going towards, but maybe they're just kind of building her up to set up that feud with a returning Bianca Belair going into next year. And I think that's kind of where it culminates, right? Do we really see what Jade's got here against the likes of a Bianca Belair? Because we know Bianca can wrestle. Bianca's so athletically gifted.
That's a tough match for Jade.
And yeah, we'll see how good she'll look compared to a Bianca Belair. If eventually that's going to be kind of like one of those key moments for her, right? To see how well she's pretty much grown from all the different matches she's had throughout her WWE career, even prior to that. Because right now she's having these matchups against a lot of like mid-card, lower tier wrestlers. Not to say they aren't great, but I don't think they elevate her. They don't.
Yeah, but you got to look at it this way too. But like, she's having these matches against like Michin, and Michin's she's not a slouch.
No, not at all. But I don't think.
Yeah, but
she gets elevated from beating her.
Yeah. She doesn't get elevated by beating Michin, but at the same time, like, she doesn't look good. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, she doesn't look good beating Michin. Like, I mean, Michin does as good as she can do, but like, if you can't even look good beating a mid Carter, you know what I mean? She doesn't even look strong beating Michin, and that says a lot. You know what I mean? Like, you should look absolutely dominating when you're beating Michin, and you're not.
Right.
And that's bad.
Like the way she dominated Tiffy for the title is one thing, right?
Right,
and then
right.
The match that she had against Naomi at WrestleMania was another thing. So, I think those matches made her look strong, but she hasn't had those type of matches since then. So it'll be kind of interesting to see whether or not she can have a great 2026 or even like a great WWE championship run, because right now it's kind of subpar. It's not what I want to see from her, from the, the aura of, this Jade superhero looking, and it's just like I feel like there's so much more untapped, potential from her that they're not really honing in on. So we'll see what happens there. And then I'll say for me, I actually been a fan of hers. I don't know why, but something about her, and she's currently part of the AEW Women's Tag Team Championship team right now. Harley Cameron. I don't know why. She's great. Entertainment value. She's great. She's obviously got a little bit of the comedy piece of it. She's clearly talented. She can, sing, do music, but she's also leveled up her in-ring capabilities, and clearly I think she's gonna have a great 2026.
Is that the one that was messing with Monet?
Yeah, she did the little marionettes,
whole puppet, yeah,
the puppets,
the
yeah. So she's tag team
I was paying
partners
attention
with
to that. That was pretty good.
Willow Nightingale. So like they're currently the Base of Wrath, right? So I personally think she's gonna have a great 2026. Now there's one more that I will mention. I feel like maybe a dark horse for the women's. It's that one girl from Evolve. I don't know why I'm drawing blanks right now, but for me, she kind of stood out. Got to help me out here. Who's that? WWE, the Evolve Women's Champion.
Gotta look this up.
I know I have to look it up because it's just like I'm drawing blanks. Kendall Gray. Oh my goodness. She's on my radar. Kendall Gray.
Oh, okay.
So she's the current Evolve Women's Champion. And I would not be surprised for me if she was the Dark Horse 2026 wrestler of the year.
Show up in NXT.
Yeah, because like, man, she's been putting on some bangers. I would actually want to see a match between her and Sol Ruka in NXT at some point, because two of them have just like tremendous skill sets in terms of like their ring work, and I would love to see what they could do and in terms of like their ring chemistry. But I personally think she could definitely make 2026 her year as well.
You think Sol Ruka leaves Zarya behind when she goes to the main roster, or you think she takes Zarya with her?
They got to cap off that piece at some point. So I think she may end up moving to the main roster before Zarya. And I know like there's moments when they tease their split. So that's bound to happen at some point.
Yeah.
Now, would it surprise me if they saved that for the main roster? Like that would be kind of a shocker, right? Like they both get moved up to the main roster, and next thing you know, Zarya or who's to say Sol Ruka would turn on Zarya? So that could be a big swerve also. But yeah, I think they would either keep them together, move Sol up as a main roster person. She goes on and do her own thing, or they continue the storyline of their potential split, and then just kind of like pops off right at the main at the brink of them joining the main roster. That's how I look at it. That would be kind of cool, in my opinion.
I don't know why, but I could hear Jasper. Like I know he's not here, but I can hear him like yelling right now.
He's like, oh, he's just pointing at the LTS. He's like, oh, you heard it here. You heard it here. We know you watching. And then insert J here. WWE, we know you watching.
We know you watching.
But that's crazy, right? How fast the whole year has gone by, and like we just thinking about how we started this, right? We started this just at the end, like at the completion of the Royal Rumble.
Yep.
Talking shop, talking wrestling, and this is where we're at now. So it's crazy to think how fast the year has gone by, and then we're going right back into WrestleMania season.
Right back in, dude.
It's crazy. So we're definitely on the brink of WrestleMania season, going into the Royal Rumble, Riyadh, right? And man, once that goes down, and then we know who the winners are, it's clearly road to WrestleMania at that point. I'm back in Vegas. WWE taking my money. Good Lord. Yeah, man, it's been quite a year, and like just to really say how great it's been talking shop and all this good stuff that we truly love, and man, it's been so fun, and
Oh yeah,
going to next year,
absolutely.
who knows what's gonna happen, right?
Who
And
knows?
we just really enjoy doing what we do, and I know like it's been the holidays. Last few months also been a little crazy because of life just been lifing at
Life
us.
and life in, bro.
But we definitely appreciate it, and I appreciate you. I appreciate the panel,
Automatic.
Cuzzo, Jay. I appreciate you guys a lot. You guys know this. This goes without saying. And yeah, man, 2026, here we come. 2025.
You can't see us. You can't see us.
Just a few more
WrestleMania
days.
season, here we come.
I know.
Royal Rumble season and then WrestleMania season, but here we come.
Exactly. But otherwise, man, great episode. Great last episode for 2025. And I thank you again, all subscribers, all our followers. Continue to support us. We really appreciate you guys. We hope you guys have a great holiday season. Keep it safe out there, especially all you locals out there in Hawaii. I know the fireworks thing is not going to be like it is before, but keep it safe out there. We know it's what it's all about out that on the island, keeping it like a war zone, but
Especially down in the 94, you know how it goes.
Yeah, keep it safe out there. Otherwise, if you guys are going to be celebrating across the world, and hopefully anyone out there listening, we wish you guys happy holidays, happy new year, and 2025. You can't see this no more. Nick, it's been a pleasure, and I'll see you right into 2026. Let's go.
We out.